Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another Flea Market Finds episode. This is stuff that I picked at the tractor show down in Connecticut this past July. And I am just now getting around to cataloging this stuff and getting it ready for sale. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First pick of the day was from Bob the Junkman's Table. Guy who brings all kinds of just random tools he gets from cleanouts. It's mostly tools and just a lot of various different types of tools, mechanics tools, the occasional machinist tools, but usually he gets picked clean before they're even open to the public. Usually other dealers come by and pick him clean of any good stuff that he gets. I mean good stuff as far as like any high dollar Starrett or anything like that. But I was able to put together this little pile of junk right here that I dug through and found. And I got this all here for $7. Included in that is one of these nice Morse Twist Drill Company tap wrenches. So if you've never seen one of these before, unlike the conventional style tap wrench where you actually turn the handle to move the jaw, this one has a separate screw to move the jaw. The handles are fixed, and because they put it at an angle like this, you have a lot more room to move the jaw, and they make this unique jaw design. So by design, this is able to accommodate quite a wide range of sizes of taps. And every time I've come across one of these, they've been by the Morse Twist Drill Company, and this is no exception. Also picked up this little tubing bender. This is Imperial brand tubing bender, 1/4 inch. So this would be good for doing, I guess, like maybe steel brake lines and whatnot. And the handles say Flex Amp on them. So there's a patent on here, so this is from Chicago. So probably a decent little quality tubing bender. A nice adjustable spanner, a number 472 Williams. That style right there. And this automatic center punch that is missing the tip and is rusty, but it still works, and it's a brand I've never seen before. It's got some rust on it, so kind of hard to see, but it looks like it says Vector, V-E-C-T-O-R, and it looks like company is from Sylmer, California. S-Y-L-M-A-R. So that's a new one. All right, this next batch of stuff, I got this whole pile here for 110 off of a dealer that I see quite often, and I buy quite a few things from him. And anyways, this was all some decent stuff, I thought. So this is a old pair of vintage dividers. They look very similar to the like some early Pexto ones that I've had in the past. So it's missing the little thumb set screw right there to lock them. And then this is kind of neat. It's got this fine adjustment built into it. So there's a spring right here, a leaf spring, that holds this sector over in that direction. And then as you turn this, it will pull this whole thing in. And if the set screw is set, obviously this leg will come in with it. So that gives you a fine adjustment on these dividers. And these are marked Worth. It's an unusual logo. So you can see that interesting logo there. Here's a little sign bar. A little adjustable like sign vise. It's not really a sign plate. So I guess, yeah, we'd call it a sign bar, right? And the reason why I know it's a sign bar is because it's got this little cylinder right here. So by design, you're supposed to be able to put a gauge block on here between these two surfaces to set this angle, and there's a nice little stop on it. And no maker's name or anything. It looks like maybe it's just something somebody made in their shop, but it came out rather nicely. Another one of these little hand vices. I do tend to like these when I can buy them right. I do buy them, even though I have plenty of them. This one's in excellent shape. Here's a drill chuck arbor, Allman brand, the TR Allman Manufacturing Company of Ashburnham, Massachusetts. It's marked on the side here that it is a #1 Morse taper. And so what this is just, this is when you get like a Jacobs chuck and it's not mounted on anything. This side is a Jacobs taper and this side is a Morse taper. So if you get a brand new chuck, you can put it on this and you'd have a nice little chuck with a #1 Morse taper for a small tailstock on a lathe. Good quality older USA stuff like this is hard to come by. Just had this pair of adjustable parallels, just the two, but they are the same size. I do not believe they are marked, so nothing to indicate who made these, which is fine. I mean, they're just nice, good, usable, adjustable parallels. I normally don't buy Snap-on, but I bought this one for a couple of reasons. First of all, he only had $15 on it. This is a Snap-on 3/4 by 7/8 flex socket wrench. So it's got socket heads on each end. I would love to have a full set of these. I can imagine how much it would set you back. For those Snap-on aficionados out there, there is a part number on it of FH2428B USA. It's got kind of a nice Snap-on, nicely marked Snap-on. For 15 bucks this was a deal, and like I said, I mean, actually came to a little bit less than that when we added it all up because I bought in bulk. And this is a Starrett planer gauge. Unfortunately, it's engraved right there. Other than that, it appears to be in great shape. It's got the 1 inch and the 2 inch extension rods. He had $15 on this, which is also a heck of a deal. Even though it's engraved, the little vial bubble there is intact. He had this brass hammer. It's kind of hard to read the company name. It almost looks like a Chipotle hammer, but I know it's not a Chipotle. It is a Gerstner or something like that, Corp of Larchmont, New York. Just a brass hammer. All right, I took a second just to look it up, and it is a Custanite, Custanite, Custanite hammer from Larchmont, New York. I can't quite make out the model number. Looks like a 134, but it could be anything. Doesn't matter. To me, it's just kind of a neat old hammer. On eBay, they described this as a non-sparking hammer. Well, duh. Some people are describing them as copper beryllium. Almost looks brass to me. I think copper beryllium would look a little more coppery in color, or orangey, where this is kind of showing a lot more brass color. So, anyways, he had 10 bucks on this. Then in here, this is obviously not the original box, but he had a sheet metal cutter for $25. Which initially I was going to pass on this, but then I decided to throw it in because I was like, when's the next time you're going to see one? Steve, you only live once, Steve. Just buy it, for crying out loud. This is a... actually, I don't think we ended up finding a name on this thing now that I think of it. So the handles up here just seem like, you know, regular sheet metal handles. Not too impressive. But the rest of this seems like it's really well made. Seems pretty early, and it is for notching either some other material or thin sheet metal. There's even a V-groove here, so you could cut a bevel on the end of a small round piece of stock, like a, you know, something about the diameter of a coat hanger. Why you would want to do that, I don't know. But it's got an assortment of 4 different dies. So this looks like it just cuts. This notch is a square. So, yeah, I don't know. And then I think this one would be stored there. So I don't think it's missing anything. You know what? I take it back. This is the original box for this. For some reason I thought it wasn't originally, but now that I look at it, it's like, oh no, clearly. It's got the tray that fits all of the things here, and yeah, whatever. Did he have a name on it? No, just sheet metal cutter punch. So I don't know if anybody recognizes the make of that particular style of notcher and knows exactly what it can be used for, like max thickness of sheet metal if it is in fact for sheet metal. Or maybe it's not even for sheet metal at all. Just feel free to let me know. And then next up, this was a nice find. Look at this old wooden box with a nice dovetail slide design on it. I mean, it's just a nice little box, and it looks really old. So you never would have suspected that what's in this box is an interrapid indicator. Not to mention an interrapid indicator for $15. And it's interesting to me how well this fits in here. I think this may be a situation where there was a guy who just had some serious skills and decided to make himself a custom snazzy little box for his interrapid indicator. But this seems to be working perfectly well. It's a half thou resolution indicator. The dovetails are in great shape. It's got an Alina mount on it, which is also Swiss. But can't beat that. Nice indicator. And then the last item in this group from my friend is this unusual little vise that he had called an adjustable swivel pipe vise. Now, look at this funny little thing. So it's got a cast iron base. This can unscrew here, so it doesn't really swivel to speak of. It's really unscrewing when I do that. But I mean, you can obviously swivel it like this any way you want. And then it's got this interesting design where it's got a almost like a coarse at the thumb wheel here for the coarse width adjustment, and then this right here acts as a camming action, tilts this up and does the final tightening. And it's clearly for holding something round, but by design it really doesn't seem like it would have a lot of range as to the diameter of what it would hold. Yeah, so if this wasn't tapered, it would do a better job. So I just had to have it because I've never seen one before, and for all I know, it may have nothing to do with machinery at all. It's marked Boston and Knott, K-N-O-T-T. This is what it looks like from the side. Oh, I almost forgot. In addition to all that stuff that I just had in that pile there was also a precision grinding vise that was included in that, which I have temporarily mislaid. If I find that before I wrap this video up, I'll include it at the end. And a Starrett scale, 12-inch scale, no big deal. Moving on, I picked up from another vendor these two items here. This is another one of these little metal hand vices. This one's a little rough. This is seized, so this is going to take some serious love to get this moving again. But I got it for $2, so that's why I bothered paying $2 for that, even though it's seized up. And this was kind of interesting to me. I don't buy a lot of woodworking tools because I honestly don't know a lot about them. But the size and the shape of this little spoke shave is, I believe what this is called, intrigued me. So it's got kind of a neat, like, rosewood color to it or something. I don't know. This part right here is brass. The blade has a name on it. I'm going to get to that in a second as soon as I get some magnification on the job here. But it's not broken. By some miracle, it survived all of this time. And I got this for $3. So I thought that was kind of cool. Getting back to this unusual piece here for a moment. As I suspected, this does not have anything to do with machining, and it in fact has more to do with scientific lab type equipment. There was a company called the L.E. Knott Apparatus Company that was located in Boston, and it was a distributor of scientific instruments from 1896 to the 1930s. So that gives you an idea of how old this thing is. And this is from an excerpt on the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology's museum website, and they do have a photograph of a device which is a arc lamp. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but there's some glare I'm dealing with out here. So that is an arc lamp device. Notice the base, somewhat similar to the base on my little device here. So maybe this has something to do with an arc lamp. I don't know. Another dealer didn't have really many machinist tools at all, but I spotted in his case this sweet little Starrett 0 to 1/2 inch micrometer, and was very pleased to find out he only wanted $10 for it. This one is clean as a whistle. The last one of these I got, it was kind of really stuck. This one seems to work perfectly. The lock works perfectly. It even has a calibration date on it. Unfortunately, it was due for calibration in 1998. But for those of you who've never seen one before, that's what it looks like. Unlike previous 1/2 inch micrometers that I featured on this channel, this was actually designed to be a working, usable micrometer for precision measurement. Most of these 1/2 inch micrometers you come across with names like Dunlap and other names on them typically were considered to be almost like novelty micrometers that were given away as like premiums, freebies for advertising purposes. Whereas this is an actual measuring device that would have been found in, at one point would have been in the Starrett catalog. $10. That's a good deal. So that pile of stuff that I showed just a little while ago with this thing and the Interrapid and all that and everything, the guy who I bought that from also had an old machinist tool chest there. And initially I didn't want to buy it because, you know, I know he needed to get more money for it. But what ended up happening was I let it go and came back later to pick up my stuff, and he still hadn't sold it yet, so we worked a deal on it. So I'm going to show you this one last item, and then we're going to cut to some video I recorded of me going through that toolbox, showing that old Gerstner toolbox that I picked up. But before that, let's get to this guy. Okay, so these types of figules were referred to as Toby jugs. I do not know the origin of why they were called Tobys. Oftentimes they are just the head with a handle on them, and those are called Toby mugs. And I had a thing for these for a while. I used to collect these, and this is an early one. Somehow this thing has survived all of this time. It actually is in really great shape. It's clearly marked on the bottom, Toby jug, and then for some reason in reverse it's marked Toby jug. So I guess like if you're driving up behind somebody, they can look in the rearview mirror and you can read it. Made in England. So that might not be showing up too well, but trust me, this is from England. This is an early porcelain piece. It's in excellent shape. There was a time when these were very popular and traded for good money. Why did I buy this one when they're not really that sought after anymore? Well, because he was $3. I couldn't leave him there for $3. Jolly, look how happy that guy is. What's he got there? He's got himself a big old jug, and he's got himself what looks like a stein there with almost looks like this froth coming out of the top there. I think he's got himself a whole pitcher of ale. Doesn't look like he's sharing. No wonder why he's happy. In fact, if you look at his face, he looks a little... He looks like he's two sheets to the wind there. I don't know. Maybe that should be the thumbnail for this video. All right, guys, let's go check out that Gerstner. So one of my buddies who I buy tools from had this Gerstner 11 draw tool chest, and you know, usually I shy away from these because the prices on these have gotten pretty high. And since I'm really not looking for one for myself, and I was going to use it for resale, I didn't think I was going to come near what he was going to need to get for it. But I ended up buying so many tools from him, and we ended up working out a deal, and that was reasonable to both of us. And I ended up acquiring this. I'm probably into this box for about 200 bucks. So I think I'll make a little bit of money on it, not a tremendous amount. It's actually in pretty darn good shape. It's got a nasty scratch right here that is such a bad scratch that it actually gouged and took a little tiny chunk of the veneer out right there. So that's the biggest bit of damage I see on it. There's one little chunk taken out over here. I mean, it's a chunk taken out, but that is very early, and it looks like they colored in maybe with some stain or something at some point. There is a indentation here that clearly looks to me like somebody stuck a screwdriver in there and tried to pry this open at one point for some reason. I don't know. It could have been something as silly as them not realizing that this is one of the models that has side clasps. So if you go to open this up and you go, oh wait a minute, it doesn't want to open, you might think it's stuck on something, try and pry it. But it's just that you get two more clasps on the back here you gotta take out. So the felt is, for the age, is in great shape. You can actually, I'll get a close-up in a moment here of this inside area here that has not been exposed for many years. It hasn't oxidized the same way the whole box has. So this looks kind of dark. I don't know how well it's going to come out on video, but this does have really nice wood grain. And then on the inside here we've got this golden oak look, which is what it looked like originally. It's an 11 draw model, so you know, 11 draws. It's got the machinery handbook draw. It's got the metal style, which a lot of people think that this means that it's a newer box, but this is not. This is actually a pre-1960 box and post-1948. So this box was manufactured between 1948 and 1960, and I'm going to show you how I was able to determine that in a minute. There's a noticeable bow right here from, and this is a common thing that happens on these when they get old, after having years and years of having weight in these draws, all the tools weighing it down, it'll actually cause this whole center section to pull down. And that center section pulling down right here, this is the main horizontal support for these upper sections. What happens is this will now rub on this draw, which actually gives it kind of an alarm system. So these draws open perfectly fine, but this one I don't know if you can appreciate how loud that is, but it's pretty loud. So let me give you a couple of close-ups here. First, let's get a look at that finish. So this is very close to what the original color of the box would have been. And you can see that's got that quartersawn oak grain there in that part of the panel. So that's on the inside of the panel. And you can see the color change here. So that tells me that this box spent the majority of its life open on a workbench like this, front down, so that you could get to the drawers easily. And they didn't bother closing it very often. That's why this all is aged and darkened, just like this section here. And what protected that golden oak section is the straw. So one of the first things I like to look at with these is I pulled the bottom drawer out and see if there's stenciling visible in the bottom here, and there most certainly is. And it says built by H. Gerstner and Sons, Dayton, Ohio. There are no numbers or additional like prefix letters or anything like that stamped in here. So that's the first clue as to dating, and I'll get to that in a moment. But the important thing to notice about this lettering in here, so it might be hard to tell from this angle, but the words at the top there, built by, and the words on the bottom, Dayton, Ohio, have a slight curvature to them. So built by curves up and Dayton, Ohio curves down, and H. Gerstner's and Sons is straight across. Another clue for dating is based on what you're going to find on the drawers. Some of these will have almost like a label underneath the finish, as opposed to this one, which actually has the applied little label that is metallic. And also notice the way that this is colorized. The majority of the background is silver, and the background for the letters of Dayton, Ohio and built by is blackened in. And you're going to see that on some of these boxes that might be reversed. You'll have a more black in the label. Another clue is we're going to look at the mirror and see what the mirror is held in with. This is a metal frame for this mirror. It's actually a little stamped metal frame. On some boxes, the older ones, this is a wooden frame. We also want to look at the hardware. Specifically, we're going to look at the pulls. These pulls are knobs that have no backing. In other words, there's no escutcheon plate or anything that these have behind the knob, between the knob and the wood. And this main locking mechanism is a clasp. So the first clue that I went with was the style of the stenciling on the bottom. The fact that the stenciling doesn't have any date down there, and that it's kind of got that rounded lettering for the built by and the Dayton, Ohio. That tells me that this chest was made between 1948 and 1959. In 1959, they switched the stenciling, so you might find some chests from 59 that also have that next version of the stenciling that has a date code. So that being said, I know 48 to 59. After that, there isn't really too much to clue me in on where it falls, whether it's a 48 or a 59 or any of the years in between. And the reasoning being that pretty much all of the chests between 48 and 59 also had this lock style, had the metal mirror frame, also had the pulls like this one has with no backing to them. Another thing you can do is look at the hinges on the back. This style hinge right here has this, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a center line in it right here. So the earlier ones had a fleur-de-lis design. Up to 1942, they used a fleur-de-lis designed or shaped hinge, or lid restraint as they call it, because it's got this, see this metal part right here? That's a lid restraint, keeps the lid from being able to flop all the way back. Prior to having lid restraints, the really, really early ones, I think they had a little chain on the inside. So the lid restraints started in 1942, and they went from 42 to 58 with a style that looked like this but had more lines, more of a like a Art Deco look to it. Although this has some styling to it like that too. And then in 48 they switched to this design with the lid restraint where you have this one center line right here. Alright guys, so that's going to bring this episode to a conclusion. If you enjoyed this pick video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing and sharing the video. Until next time, take care.